phrase I came across relatively recently was, "You miss all the shots that you don't take." Well, my guest this week took the shot, even though academically she didn't think she had what was required. And boy, has she succeeded. I'm Jeremy Klein, and this is Change Work Life. Hello and welcome to the Change Work Life podcast, where we're all about beating the Sunday evening blues and enjoying Mondays again. This week's guest is Sarah Turner, who became somewhat disillusioned with the corporate world and, on the advice of friends and family, gave nursing a go, even though she thought she didn't have the qualifications necessary to start a nursing degree. Let's listen to her story. Hi Sarah, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you.
So Sarah, why don't you start by introducing yourself and telling us a bit about what it is you do?
Okay, so my name is Sarah, and I am currently a community nursing sister locally. And actually, I'm currently studying full-time at the moment. I'm a student at the moment. I'm actually studying for the district nursing qualification at uni, obviously working as well on placement as well. I've been a nurse for 11 years now, qualified just exactly 11 years ago. Originally was a staff nurse on a ward, and I've been a community nurse for 7 years, and I became a sister 3 years ago, exactly.
And this is your second career, is that right?
It's my second career, that's correct, yes, yeah. So I started out, I went to Secretarial College when I was 18 in London, and I did shorthand and typing, which is sort of really a thing of the past now. And I became a secretary, and I worked in various places in London. And then I came back and worked locally for a off-licence company, worked in the head office, and then I got into event management a lot through working for that company. And I did that really for about 17 years. Worked in marketing a bit in London, again doing event management, and then came back locally again and worked in a company locally. And that's kind of what I ended up sort of finishing doing with secretarial work and sort of event management as well.
And so before we talk about how you actually got into nursing, how did you start off as a secretary, and then how did that sort of transition to event management and that sort of thing?
So as I said, I went to Secretarial College in London and just did shorthand and typing. And I think sort of being a young 18-year-old, you think, oh, you want to work in London and work in, all these great big sort of places. So I just wrote to various different companies, one being Hilton Hotel. So I thought it might be quite nice to work in a hotel. And I worked there for a bit. Actually, I hated it, I have to say. Didn't like working in London, didn't like working in the Hilton Hotel. And then I came back and worked locally. I did a bit of temping because I didn't really know then where I kind of wanted to work and what I wanted to do. Then got offered a job in an off-licence company locally. And I worked there for about 10 years and worked for a lot of area sales managers, and kind of worked my way up through being a secretary, then being a PA to a couple of what were they called, operations managers, and sort of being that type of company, there was always a lot of events going on, a lot of conferences. It was very, very social. They took us on a lot of social events and a lot of conferences, that type of thing. And I guess I just kind of progressed from there. I just got more and more into it, and I guess I enjoyed it, had a bit of a flair for it. And it kind of went from there. And then I kind of felt, I'd worked there for about 10 years, it was retail, and I kind of felt I'd done everything that I wanted to do. And then I thought about going back to work in London again, because I'd worked in London before, and where I lived at the time was very convenient for the train station. So I looked for a job in London, and I worked in London and in a marketing department, did a lot of events there. But as with everything, budgets were cut and things changed. And then I basically became really like an audio secretary, and obviously got a bit disillusioned with it because I just felt I was sort of sitting with headphones in my ears all day just typing a load of letters, which obviously, from what I'd done, I wasn't really using my skills that I felt that I'd kind of built up over the years.
Why aged 18 did you decide to become a secretary in the first place?
Secretary. I think probably from my mum. It was kind of something we did at school. I mean, I'm 50, so, when I was like 14 at school, which was like 1983, everyone sort of went and did typing classes. So I did typing from like the age of 14. My mum was a secretary, there was a typewriter at home. And I suppose it just kind of like manifested from there. And I used to go and work in my dad's office as well. And when his secretary was on holiday, I used to go and like sort of do a bit of, sort of practicing in the summer. And it just kind of went from there. And I enjoyed it. I felt that I, had a bit of a flair for it and quite like, being organised and what have you. So it just kind of went from there, really.
And fast forwarding back to the other end, so you said that you'd done a lot of event management and that sort of thing, but then got a job which was rather more limited. Talk a bit about sort of why you went for a complete change rather than looking for a role that was more what you'd been doing previously.
Okay, well, I did think about a complete change because I happened to see advertised, where it was advertised, I can't remember, but it was Open University. Like the Open University do events at the weekends where you can, go to one of their events and you could do like taster sessions for an hour for different modules that they do. And I thought, well, that sounds quite interesting, might be something worth considering, doesn't cost anything. So I went to one in Peterborough, and you just sign up for different sessions that you think you might be interested in. So one of them was sort of like about care and social care, and I really enjoyed it. So it literally was like a lesson for an hour. So literally like things that you would do, if you were working that module. So I went to this event, and it was like an all-day event as well. And you can obviously chat to all the teachers and the tutors, and they have all their information packs and sort of books that you would, have to read, and a sort of assignments that you'd have to do. And I thought, do you know what? I really enjoyed it. I felt really like infused by it when I came home. And it's obviously something you do in your own time where you're still working full time. So I signed up and I did a certificate in social science, which I think was about a 9-month course, which also involved some evenings going to, I think it was St Albans College that I went to for sort of like 2-hour lessons. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It's all remote learning, and you get a tutor that you can phone. But I think from just doing that, because I just did it off my own back, it really made me think that, maybe I could do something. And actually, I was in a position where I could do something. I was living at home. I didn't have children. I didn't have that responsibility that, some people might find it harder. So that's why I signed up, to do this sort of like 9-month module. And then it kind of went from there, that I thought, maybe I could do something completely different. But I didn't know what at the time.
What were your expectations when you first went along to the Open University thing? I suppose even before that, what caused you to go to it in the first place?
I think maybe just to give me a bit of an eye-opener and sort of an idea of actually what could I do with maybe the skills that I've got and the stuff that I've learned, but actually I felt that maybe I've got skills that I'm not using. And I know it probably sounds really cheesy. I wanted to do something more people orientated, something that I think that I could do something and make a difference, but I didn't know what I could do. I didn't know what my options were. I must have been then about 31, 32. And I thought, it doesn't cost anything. Go along, do a few taster sessions and actually see, have I got the brains to do it? I mean, at school, I was told that I wasn't academic. I couldn't go to university. I didn't do A-levels. So for me, it was really actually particularly doing these sort of taster sessions. Actually, would I understand it? Could I do it? And that is the great thing with Open University. You don't have to have A-levels to get on this course. You can just sign up and do it.
What other taster sessions did you do out of curiosity?
I did it was a social care one that I did, and it was also the social science one from the certificate that I actually did the 9-month course in. I think I might have done another one, but to be honest, I can't remember. It was such a long time. It might have been something like environment or something.
Okay, so you found that you really enjoyed the social science and did the
Yes.
diploma in social care.
Yeah.
So how did that then morph into nursing?
Well, funnily enough, it was actually people at work that said to me, Sarah, you should be a nurse. people that I worked for when I was the secretary. And I was on the phone to my sister one day who was having a terrible panic attack. She used to have them quite a lot. And she'd phone me up and people came up to me and said, gosh, you were really good. You really handled that situation. It was obviously a really difficult situation. Why have you never looked into nursing? And from doing that course, it was kind of one thing that kind of registered with me. Maybe I should think about this. But I hadn't really looked into it. But I think as people started saying it to me, I suppose it kind of manifested that, well, actually, maybe that I should look into it a bit more seriously. And I think also I wanted to see whether I could actually study as well. And from doing that course, it made me realise that actually I really enjoyed doing that. It was hard. It wasn't easy. You know, you're writing assignments every 6 weeks in your own time. And, you know, at that sort of age, you want to go out with your mates and, you know, have a good time. And you've got deadlines and what have you. But it made me think that, yes, I could do something. And then when people started saying to me, and I had thought about nursing, but because it's a 3-year degree, I wasn't too sure if I get the qualifications to get onto the course, which actually I didn't have the qualifications to get onto the course, because you needed A levels. So when somebody said to me, you know, what about this? And I had started thinking about it anyway, I just phoned them up one day because I literally lived like a 10-minute walk from the uni. And, you know, said I've got this certificate in social science, but I presume I'd need an access course. I haven't got any A levels. And they were like, don't do the access course. You don't need A levels. You've done Open University. You'll just need to come for an interview. And you've got 10 days to apply, basically, which was great because I just did it. You know, you could have talked yourself out of it. So, you know, I think, you know, you think, oh, that's the set criteria. You've got to have this to do that. But actually, it's not always the case.
Where did that come from? Where did you sort of pick up that you needed the A levels, the access course, all that sort of thing?
I looked online. So I looked online, obviously for Hertfordshire, you know, I lived right by there. And I also ordered a pack as well. I don't know if they still, it's probably all online now, but there was a pack about, you know, nursing, which I think was from the Royal College of Nursing. So all about how to get into nursing, how to become a nurse, qualifications that you would need. When I did it, it was diploma or degree. It's degree only now. So it was all, you know, you needed, I think, to have 3 A levels or you need to do the access course. So that's why I phoned them up, because I thought, well, I haven't got that. And actually, I was very, very lucky because it was the summertime. I spoke to one of the tutors I got through immediately. And she said, you know, although you haven't got the A levels and you haven't got, you know, you haven't got an access course, you've actually got life skills that the youngsters won't have. You know, I dealt a lot in retail, I dealt with complaints, dealt with people of all different hierarchies, and they said, so you've got life skills that the younger crew won't necessarily have. So, you know, it's not all just about having your exams and, you know, what have you. And it obviously helped doing Open University because I could show them my assignments. I had to show them my assignments I'd done as well because they wanted to see that I could actually write in English, and I had to be interviewed. Whereas I think if you're 18, you don't have to be interviewed to go to uni.
So that's really interesting. I mean, you must have been reasonably determined to explore it more thoroughly than just being put off by what was in the literature then, to phone them up and say, well, hang on a minute. I mean, you know, just on the off chance, this is what I've got.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I felt really enthused when I started reading about it. And actually, nursing is it can give you a massive career. There's something that I didn't realise. I've never really had to access the NHS myself. But actually, there's a whole wealth of stuff out there that you can do and people do, you know. And I think people just think, oh, it's in a hospital looking after patients. There's so many avenues you can go down. So when I got that pack through, it really, I suppose it made me feel really like enthusiastic about it. And then I started talking to a couple of people that I knew that were nurses, my mum's friends. You know, they said to me, look into it, don't just be put off by that. And that's why I thought, well, I'll just phone the university. What is the worst case scenario? Is to say, no, you have to go and do the access course for a year, which wouldn't be the end of the world. It's only a year, isn't it?
Especially today, but I'm sure even 10 years ago, nursing, it's one of those professions which, in my view, is it's as essential as anything. I mean, it's, you know, I applaud anyone who wants to go down that route. but it also strikes me as being unbelievably hard and not terribly well rewarded, or at least not financially. And I don't think that was different 10 years ago as it is
Oh,
now.
no, it
So,
wasn't. No, no, you're absolutely right.
well, did that put you off, or why didn't it put you off?
No, it didn't put me off at all, to be honest with you. I mean, I owned a property, so I had a mortgage, but I only had a very small mortgage. So, and I kind of thought, right, if I'm going to do this, you need to do it kind of like now. And from looking into it, I didn't realise that the NHS paid for your university fees. So I didn't have to pay any fees for my degree, and that you also got a bursary as well. And also being over 30, I got more of a bursary as well, which obviously were things that I didn't know until I started, looking into it. And then I realised that actually I think I could do this. It is doable. Unfortunately, they don't do the bursary now, which is a real shame because it's obviously putting off a lot of people. So, I realised that, when I came out of uni, hopefully I wouldn't be in debt like a lot of people are these days because, like you say, you're not financially rewarded massively well. But actually, from my salary from coming out from university and starting my nursing, there wasn't much difference to what I ended up earning, before I did it. Yeah, because I'd gone back and worked locally. And luckily I had, only had a small mortgage, which obviously helped.
And so, what doubts did you have along the way?
Whether I could do it, whether I was academic enough to do it. Things like, you go on placements, you go and work in hospitals. I've never worked in the public sector before. I didn't know anything about the NHS. I didn't know anything about health, diseases. I've only ever worked in an office. It completely different ball game, and doing shift work as well. Suddenly you're doing earlys, you're doing late, you're doing night shifts, and as well as doing that, you're studying as well. So I was quite kind of like, oh, could I do all this? And the other thing I remember being worried about, and when I phoned up uni, I asked them, would it all be 18? I know it sounds awful, nothing wrong with 18-year-olds, but would it all be 18-year-olds and me? At the time I was 36. So, I think it's important. You need study buddies, you need people to help you, to support you. Are they all going to be, and, there was some, they've left home, they're going out on a night out. Having things in common with these people that you're going to study with every day. But actually, apparently, the average age of a nursing student is about 30. So that was never an issue.
And so the internal fears that you had, were you
Yeah.
going to be academic enough? Were you going to be able to cope with the shift work, the working nights, all that sort of thing? How did you address those internally? How did you not let them put you off?
I just think I just said to myself, Sarah, loads of people do it. If somebody else can do it, why can't I do it? I've got a lot of people around me that could probably help me and support me. The university seemed like they had a lot of support there as well for people. And I just felt it was really important to, because obviously I didn't know anybody that was going to do the course. And I just thought it was really important to get to know people and get study buddies. And I think it's a case of you don't know till you try. You could talk yourself out of these things, but if you really want to do something, you will just get on and do it. You can sit down and say, oh, what about this? What about that? And I sort of wrote down sort of like pros and cons of doing this, and actually felt that kind of the pros outweighed the cons. It's something I felt really passionate about. I really wanted to do it. So, and what is the worst case scenario? I don't do it. I don't qualify. I give it up. I go back and be a secretary. That's the worst case scenario.
And what were some of the pros on your list?
The pros on the list were things like, career progression, satisfaction, using skills that I felt that I had that I didn't use in the other places necessarily that I worked. I'm a very people person, very people orientated. I'm a very caring person. I'm not somebody. I mean, some of the, particularly the last company I worked at, it was very corporate. It was very, everyone's sort of out for themselves, and it just wasn't me. And I wasn't really interested that we'd win a contract and get this and get that. I didn't feel passionate about that. I felt passionate about, I want to do something and make a difference. So I think I just kind of kept saying that to myself, that this is what this is what I want to do, and I feel I've got a passion for it. And as more I looked into it, and spoke to my mum's friends and people that had been nurses, that actually what actually is out there, avenues that it can lead you down. I have absolutely no idea.
Is there any part of you that wishes you'd done this sooner?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, massively, I think. But I don't know if at the age of 18 I would have had the confidence to do something like that now. Because sometimes it is quite scary, nursing people that are dying, having to have difficult conversations with people, doing sometimes quite traumatic things, and quite intimate personal things to people. And I think, I don't know if I could have done that. I was very shy when I was much younger. I'm not now. But I don't think I would have had the confidence to have done it. I do wish I had, because when I talk to people my age that have been nursing, since a young age, I feel they've got a wealth of experience, and I feel like I'm a bit of a child next. Do you know what I mean? Because I've obviously, haven't worked in all the places that other people necessarily worked and got the experience. So yes, I do wish I'd done it when I was younger. I guess better to have done it than never at all. Yeah, than just, you can say, oh, I wish I'd done this, I wish I'd done that. Maybe I wouldn't have been so good at it when I was, 18. You just don't know, do you?
It's that old, was it a Chinese proverb, the best time to plant a tree is 10 years ago, the second best time is now?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. And, it came with like financial sort of, your mates are all going out, you're not going out, that's hard as well. Because, there's times where you say, no, I can't come out, I'm studying, I'm doing an exam. So, I had all that to sort of think about as well. But I have to say my friends were fantastic, really, really supportive. And, it's not forever.
Have there been times in the past 10 years where you've thought, no, this isn't for me?
Never felt it wasn't for me. No. Even though I'd never worked in that, before. I think as soon as I did my first placement, which was about 6 weeks after I started uni, I felt really comfortable with it. So I never felt, no, I can't do this. I felt, it's difficult when you're doing an assignment, you don't understand what they're asking you, or the exams are difficult, or that question's difficult, because there is so much. Nursing is not just about sticking an injection in somebody. It's so much more legalities, bound under codes of conduct. There's lots of stuff that goes with it. So, there was things that I found difficult, but no, I never felt, no, I can't do this, no.
And where do you think it'll take you?
Well, so my course I'm doing at the moment is, as I said, it's a district, to be be a district nurse, the official qualification, and I've just done the prescribing as well. So to be a nurse prescriber can take you anywhere and everywhere. Maybe that I would specialise in something one day, but I don't know what at the moment. And probably maybe more management one day, either in the office or maybe even a practice nurse, but I'm not entirely sure at the moment. But I do know that I still want to stay in the community at the moment. That's kind of my passion, as hard as it is. And it is not an easy job, because they're chucking everything into the community from the hospitals. But it's what I feel really passionate. And, I've done this course over the last year, which I've absolutely loved. Again, it's been really, really hard. So that is where my passion lies at the moment. But maybe, specialise something in the community, say like a diabetic nurse or palliative care nurse, that's what you can go on and do.
And how long do you think you'll stay in nursing?
Hopefully forever. Hopefully until I retire. Who knows? I mean, they keep putting the retirement age up, don't they? I can't see myself doing anything else now. The thought of working in an office, it just fills me with dread, to be honest with you. I like being out and about. I love seeing different people. Every day is a different day, and you just don't know what you're going to come up against. And, you know, there's challenges out there. It's not easy. Because people are living longer and people have got more complex conditions to, you know, for you to deal with. So there's new challenges all the time. So yeah, I can't really see myself doing anything else, to be honest with you.
That's fantastic. And I've got to ask, do you ever feel like, I don't know, that there's how can I express this? In any kind of public service job, I get the impression that there is a certain amount of being at the whims of the politicians. And certainly teachers get this because the curriculums get changed every 10 minutes and every new government that comes in seems to want to put its stamp on it. Education is obviously a very big topic here in the UK. Health in the NHS is another one. Is that something that you're aware of in your day to day, or do you just block it out, or is it actually not as bad that, you know, the politicians don't really interfere with your day to day life too much?
I mean, no, they don't really interfere like day to day, but I think actually from doing this course, because one of the modules we had to do was learn all about policy and, you know, all sort of NHS England and how it all, you know, the hierarchy and how it all comes down and where the money goes. So I think it's made me much more aware of policies and why things happen. I wouldn't necessarily say I think about them on a day-to-day basis, but a lot of it you think, oh, that's because of money, or that's changing, it's all to do with money, or, you know, they're doing this and it's because of this. So I feel much more aware now of why things happen sometimes, not that it's necessarily for the right reasons. And I feel much more aware of what my hierarchy, so like my management, what they have to deal with and why they have to do it. You know, a lot of it now is all about auditing, reporting, that you're showing that you can do this and you can do that, because it's all about keeping like the CCGs happy, that because they commission us, which is clinical commissioning groups.
Yeah.
So they make, you know, they make the decisions for us nurses, you know, they basically employ us. So it you know, it's kind of, you have to keep them happy. So I've got that bit more in the back of my mind that, you know, that would be a good idea, but no, you can't do that because they wouldn't agree with that. So that, I think that's a bit more in my head, but not so much the politicians. Sometimes maybe, but not always. Yeah.
That's good to hear.
I don't sort of drive around thinking of, you know, Jeremy Hunt or whatever, you know. Yeah.
Yes, of course, because he was health secretary for a while.
That's right, he was, yes, and he wasn't well liked at all when he was health secretary. No.
Sarah, this has been an inspiring story, actually. I mean, just how you've described, you know, how you've really found your calling. Is there any particular help that you've had on the way, be it either external coaching or any kind of courses or any resources which people might find useful, just something which, you know, helped you on your way?
Yeah, definitely the Open University. It's a fantastic resource. It's really well organised. I think that gave me the motivation to think, actually, I can do this. That really, really helped me. And actually just various people that I knew, friends, that, you know, they sort of got into careers just by, I really like this, I'm going to try. And they kind of mentored me. You know, they weren't necessarily people that gone to university and done degrees and all the rest of it, but they wanted to do something and that they were really passionate about it. And sort of, I suppose, instilled that bit in me that if you really want to do something, you know, you will go out and find a way, you know, even just like financially find a way. I think, I mean, and probably just the resource of when I, you know, sort of got all my stuff from the RCN, you know, finding out about nursing, and then just phoning the university. I think the lecturer at the university, you know, she really was, oh no, apply, you know, I'm sure you'll get on the course. You know, she was really inspirational. And I was very, very lucky that I actually, because, you know, often you won't be able to speak to a lecturer when you phone university because they're either, you know, lecturing or, you know, off campus. So I was incredibly lucky that I actually spoke to somebody that taught the course.
Well, good luck. Good luck with your course. And Sarah, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, no problem. My pleasure. Thank you, Jeremy.
There's two things I love about Sarah's story. One is her passion. She's really found her vocation in one of what's must be one of the most unimaginably hard jobs out there. She's been building up her qualifications, she's advancing herself. It's clearly her calling, and that's absolutely wonderful. The other thing is the fact that she went for it. Though she didn't have the qualifications necessary to start a nursing degree, she phoned up anyway and asked the question, and she got in. And she was also told during that conversation that her life skills would help, which I think a lot of us forget. But it's worth remembering that any job that we've been doing for any number of years, we're going to pick up transferable skills, and those are going to be really useful elsewhere, sometimes in places where we just don't imagine that they will help. Show notes for this episode are at changeworklife.com/20. Also, did you know that there's a resources page on the website? The guests I've had have been really brilliant in recommending some books, some websites, their favourite quotes and so on. And if you'd like to find a complete list of all the resources they've recommended, do have a look at changeworklife.com/resources. Also, if you haven't joined the Changework Life Facebook group yet, well, what's keeping you? Take a look, changeworklife.com/Facebook. You'll find it's a friendly community. Just ask whatever career-related questions you might have. We've got another great interview to come, so hit subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you in next week's episode. Cheers. Bye.